Hello friend. I want to tell you about the Opel Meriva car. Today we will present you a used car that started a new segment in Europe over 10 years ago. A car that is technically very similar to the Casa, but with advantages that speak for it, not for the popular Opel car from the B segment. Technically, the car is based on the Opel Casa C components, including engines, transmissions, floor pan and suspension. The front wheels are guided by McPherson struts, while the rear wheels are connected by a torsion beam on springs and shock absorbers mounted separately. The car uses the same steering system with an electrically assisted gear. The cockpit is almost identical to the Casa, but thanks to the 140 mm longer wheelbase and higher body, there is almost as much passenger space as in the Astra H engines. In the Opel Meriva, contrary to appearances, not only small engines were used, and during the great diesel boom, there was no shortage of such engines. The basic petrol engines were 1.416V, 90 hydrogen phosphide, and 1.68 volts or 16 volts, 87-105 hydrogen phosphide, as well as a large 1.816V engine, 125 hydrogen phosphide. The OPC version is powered by a supercharged 1.6 engine with 180 HP. The diesel engines were the older generation Isuzu 1.7 DTI, 75 hydrogen phosphide, and the younger 1.7 CDTI, 101 and 125 hydrogen phosphide, and the Fiat 1.3 CDTI engine. As the Meriva is a small car, the basic 1.4 petrol engine is perfect, and those looking for more power can opt for one of the 1.6 engines with 101 or 105 horsepower. The 1.8 unit is not very popular, but it already provides a lot of power of 125 horsepower, but it also needs a lot of fuel. We leave the OPC version without comment. In general, the most recommendable petrol engine is the 1.416V twin-port, 90 hydrogen phosphide, also officially sold with an LPG installation. As for diesels, we recommend the 1.3 CDTI due to its refined design and quick warm-up, which is important in the city. However, this engine will not work well on the road, so we recommend it mainly for everyday and city driving. For longer trips, one of the 1.7 CDTI engines will be a better option. What's broken? The Opel Meriva is not known for its reliability. The car is technically a twin of the Casa C, but it struggles with many faults, mainly electrical minor ones. You might even get the impression that the car was built in a hurry. Wiper mechanisms and engine electrical equipment break down. The quality of interior elements leaves something to be desired after years of use, and small corrosion spots appear on the bodywork. Cars after facelifts are better made. The chassis is worse, as it can be slightly more seriously corroded, mainly in the parts where the suspension is attached. On the other hand, the running gear is extremely durable and cheap to repair. Some screws simply cannot be unscrewed. After a very long period of use, they are unscrewed for the first time. Each element in the front wishbone can be replaced, while the rear beam practically requires no maintenance. While the opinions about the suspension are very good, the steering system is not. The steering gear is not very durable, and it starts to play after 150 to 200,000 kilometers. What is worse, the electric power steering fails. It is not cheap, so users save themselves with used parts, which of course results in faster wear. Another problem with the chassis is often neglected brake system elements. Writing about seizing calipers would be unfair, because properly serviced cars do not have this problem, while cheap repairs involving express replacement of pads and charging a fee are the real cause of this problem. After buying a car, when replacing any system components for the first time, it is best to carry out a general inspection along with refreshing the calipers. Petrol units with a capacity of over 1.4 liters suffer from oil leaks and excessive oil consumption, as well as failures of the EGR system, sensors and controllers. In cars from the beginning of production, these engines do not always work evenly and as expected, but the other side of the coin is their general durability and resistance to neglect. Restoring them to order is not expensive, as is the case with diesels. Both the 1.6 and 1.8 engines are more dynamic than the 1.4, excluding the 1.68 volts, but also less economical. We recommend them to people who are looking for more power, necessarily generated from burning petrol. However, we generally recommend the 1.4 engine, which is better refined. In 1.7 DTI and CDTI diesels, there are some problems with the injection system, especially with the fuel and injection pump and its controller. This is where you may have a dilemma. Older DTI diesels are considered more durable, but they have higher mileage than slightly more troublesome CDTI units in this respect. Here, you have to reckon with significantly higher repair costs. Either way, users can handle it, and mechanics know both engines very well. The versions with a particulate filter may cause problems. However, Meriva is a city car by design, so you shouldn't expect this element to last long. Dirty EGR valves are prone to failure, regardless of how they are used. They need to be replaced, because cleaning them doesn't provide a lasting effect. We definitely recommend the rather weak 1.3 CDTI engine. It is not a flawless unit, but with proper care it will reward you with a really long service life and low operating costs. Power supply system failures are rare, and electronic failures are basically unheard of. Although it is a modern design, based on common rail injection, it is cheap to repair because it uses simple elements. However, you need to keep a close eye on the engine oil level, because the small capacity of the lubrication system exposes the unit to seizure even with a small loss. Finally, it is worth mentioning the gearboxes, of which the manual ones have a quickly wearing gear change mechanism, while the Easytronic automatics are uncomfortable in everyday driving and even more prone to failures. The only thing is that if the gear gets stuck in the manual, you can sometimes continue driving. In the automatic, this will be impossible. In the versions with the 1.3 CDTI diesels, you have to watch out for the clutch and the dual mass flywheel. These are not very durable elements, but they are quite cheap. Although the Opel Meriva is an averagely reliable car, it is still quite cheap to run. Some repairs will be expensive, especially those related to diesel engines or steering gears, but you shouldn't expect them all the time. The problem is that diesels can give out at the worst possible moment, often due to minor issues. Petrol engines can have more minor faults that can be driven for a long time. The availability of Opel parts and ease of servicing are of course a huge plus for this car. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.